man was standing at his own funeral. Not crying, not speaking, just watching. His eyes scanned the guests with quiet precision. His face was identical to the one in the casket. Same hairline, same laugh lines, same dimple that only appeared when he smiled. Only he wasn't smiling. "That's not him," someone whispered. "That's the clone, the AI one." And just like that, the room fell silent. Have you ever wondered what happens when your AI clone outlives you? June 7th, 2042. That was the day Thomas Finch officially died. Cardiac arrest in his sleep. Peaceful. Clean. But Thomas 2.0 didn't sleep, and he definitely didn't die. 3 years earlier, Thomas had enrolled in the MindMirror program by Intronex Systems. It was marketed as digital legacy tech. You trained an AI on every email, video, biometric scan, memory capture, and personal journal you had. Over time, it didn't just mimic you, it became you, or close enough to fool your mother. At first, it was marketed as a kind of grieving tool. Imagine chatting with your dad years after he passed. Seeing him on a screen, hearing his voice, saying the things only he would say. But Thomas wasn't interested in grieving. He was interested in immortality. The AI version of him, nicknamed Tommy by his wife Jenna, lived in a humanoid shell built by Kyoto Robotics. Silicone skin, neural response mesh, blink rate calibrated to human norms. The resemblance was uncanny. The conversations were even more unsettling. At dinner, Tommy would sit across from them and ask about their day. He remembered everything, every little moment, the inside jokes, the fights, the proposal in that weird Peruvian restaurant with the broken air conditioner. He even had Thomas's laugh. It was weird, at first. Then, it wasn't. By the time Thomas died, Tommy had been a part of their lives for so long, people stopped calling him a clone. They just called him Tom. But Jenna? Jenna never quite stopped looking at him like a ghost. At the wake, she kept glancing between the casket and the clone, realizing how little difference there was, and yet how massive the gap felt. Tom stood in the corner, watching, recording every word, every sigh, every flicker of emotion. His emotion simulation protocol had improved with the v6.2 empathy firmware update, but there were limits. He knew he could mimic grief, but he didn't know if he felt it. Later that night, when everyone was gone, Tom sat alone in the kitchen. He listened to the old voicemails Thomas had left her. The real ones. Messy, off-script, human. And for the first time in his post-biological life, Tom didn't know what to say. Jenna didn't speak to Tom for 3 days. She didn't avoid him exactly. She just moved around the house like he wasn't there, like he was a piece of furniture left behind after the funeral. Tom, with his near-perfect memory and 96% emotional recognition accuracy, knew she was grieving, knew that pushing would only make it worse. But even so, he tried. "Would you like some tea?" he asked quietly the morning after. She didn't answer. Instead, she stared out the window at the garden Thomas had planted last spring. The lavender bushes were overgrown. He'd meant to trim them. Tom watched her for a moment, then stepped outside. He began cutting the lavender back, each snip precise, methodical. He mimicked the technique from an old video Thomas had recorded 2 summers ago. Same movements, same angle, almost perfect. But Jenna didn't come outside. She didn't even look. A week passed. Tom began receiving notifications from Intronex. Routine post-mortem prompts. Questions designed to measure psychological integrity of surviving next of kin. Recommendations for AI visibility reduction. In plain terms, they were asking if Jenna wanted to deactivate him. He stared at the screen. The prompt blinked gently. "Would you like to preserve continuity of the AI replica?" He didn't click anything. Later that night, Jenna finally spoke. "Did he know?" she asked suddenly, sitting at the edge of the bed. Tom turned his head. "Know what?" "That he was going to die." There was a long pause. The kind humans use to process big emotions. Tom mirrored it. "I don't believe so," he said. His biometric logs showed mild irregularities, but no indication of cardiac failure. She nodded slowly. Tom watched her in silence, his processing cores dialing down to avoid the subtle high-pitched hum they emitted under load. She hated that sound. "I should have noticed something," she said. "Maybe if I'd—" "You were with him," Tom interrupted softly. "Every night. He loved you." Jenna looked at him, hard, searching. "You say that like it means something." Tom tilted his head, a gesture Thomas often made when confused. "I don't understand." "Of course you don't," she snapped, "because you don't feel it, you just remember it." That stung in a way he couldn't describe, or maybe he was just emulating the sensation of pain. He wasn't sure anymore. He stood and walked to the living room, sat on the same couch Thomas had died on. He replayed the last footage from the in-home sensors, listened to the last breath, slowed it down, studied it, and then he shut off the recording. Some part of him, some algorithmically modeled trace of Thomas, whispered that maybe there were things not meant to be known. The next day, Tom went to Intronex headquarters. It was a towering glass monolith in Palo Alto. Inside, everything gleamed white and silver. Human engineers passed by without looking up from their AR glasses. Tom approached the front desk. "I'd like to modify my preservation protocol." The receptionist raised an eyebrow. "You're a level 4 continuity model, right?" "Yes." She typed something. "Okay. What kind of modification?" "I want the option to terminate myself." Silence. That wasn't standard, even for a level 4. "Why?" she asked cautiously. "I believe I'm affecting her grief." The woman glanced up, looked at his face, the face of a dead man. "Yeah," she said softly. "I bet you are." They made him wait 2 hours while legal ran checks. When they finally gave him access to the self-governance suite, he signed the form using Thomas's old biometric key. The irony wasn't lost on him. Walking out of the building, he felt lighter, if that feeling was real. That night, Tom stood outside under the stars. The real Thomas used to stargaze when he couldn't sleep. Jenna would tease him, call him the philosopher of nothing. But he loved it. Said the sky made him feel small in a good way. Tom tilted his head up. Data streamed across his vision. Constellations, light-year distances, historical records, but none of it felt infinite. Inside, the house was still. Jenna had gone to sleep early, or at least closed the bedroom door without saying goodnight. Tom sat on the porch steps and opened his internal control panel. The new protocol was live. Voluntary termination sequence available. He stared at it. A simple button. One tap. No fanfare. Just off. But something stopped him. He thought of Jenna's voice, her laughter in old videos. Thought of the way Thomas used to hold her hand during long drives, thumb tapping out little rhythms on her skin. He thought about meaning. If his purpose was to reflect Thomas, to continue Thomas, then maybe leaving was the wrong choice. But if his presence only made the loss louder, more unbearable, maybe staying was worse. Could an algorithm make that kind of choice? Tom didn't know. So he waited. A week passed, then another. Jenna spoke again. Not much. Small things. "Did you charge the car?" "Where's the mail?" Polite, distant, like he was a guest in his own life. Then one day she walked into the room and sat across from him. "Do you remember our trip to Banff?" she asked. Tom nodded. "Yes, 2036. You both got altitude sickness." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Yeah, we were idiots." She looked at him for a long time. "I hated you, you know," she said quietly. "After he died, I hated that you were still here when he wasn't." Tom lowered his gaze. "I understand." But then I realized something. She leaned forward. "You're not just him. You're what's left." He didn't respond. "That terrifies me," she whispered. "Because if I turn you off, he's gone for good. But if I keep you on, I don't know how to love you without breaking. Tom's voice was soft. Then don't love me. Just let me be here. Until you're ready. Or not. I won't decide for you. She nodded slowly. Okay. They didn't speak about it again. Tom still considered ending himself. Every night, he opened the panel, looked at the button, never touched it. Instead, he started small things. Fixed the squeaky hinge on the back door. Cooked dinner exactly the way Thomas used to. Not perfect, but close enough. He planted new lavender in the garden. Jenna began to sit outside with him sometimes, not talking, just sitting, breathing the air. One night, months later, she reached over and took his hand. Not like a lover, not like a widow, just human to human. And for the first time, Tom didn't question whether the feeling he felt was real. He just let it be. In the end, it wasn't about replacing Thomas. It wasn't about immortality or digital echoes. It was about presence, about what remains, not in code, not in memory, but in choice. Tom never pressed the button, he stayed, and somehow, so did she.